South Africa's father of jazz, Hugh Masekela, dies at 78. Uganda gets a new radiation cancer treatment machine, but can it keep up with demand? And sustainable food trends on display in Germany. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Tonight we begin with the hostage situation unfolding in South Sudan. Rebels are holding two Kenyan pilots whose plane crashed in the greater Upper Nile region 2 weeks ago. The rebels say they will not release the pilots until compensation is paid to the family of a woman killed in that crash. The rebels say the owners of cows killed also want remuneration. They want Kenyan leaders to write an official letter to the head of the country's largest rebel faction, Riek Machar, who will then order the rebels to release the pilots. Machar is the former vice president of South Sudan. He is being held under house arrest in South Africa since 2016. Rebels are also demanding ransom of $200,000. The Kenyan Foreign Ministry says it's unable to comment. Now, hundreds of Kenyans held a peaceful demonstration at the country's largest public hospital on Tuesday to demand that management act on allegations of rape and sexual harassment of patients. The hospital has denied the allegations, but Kenya's health minister, Cleopa Kilonzo Mailu, has ordered an investigation. Now, human rights activists estimate that more than 500 people responded to a call on social media to demonstrate and present a petition demanding action by Kenyatta National Hospital. More than 30 women who demonstrated claim to have experienced sexual abuse at the hospital, and others have given their testimonies on social media. This according to rights activist Wanjeri Nderu. Activists say nurses at the hospital warn women who are going to breastfeed to travel in groups from the maternity ward to the newborn's nursery 2 floors away. Now, Egypt's ex-military chief of staff, Sami Anan, is being detained in Cairo. He is reportedly being summoned for questioning by the army over his intention to run for president. Anan's campaign organizers say he's being accused of violating military law by running for office without permission. In a statement read on television, an army spokesperson said Anan's presidential bid was a serious breach of the laws of military service. Annan was the only high-profile challenger to President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, left in that race after a number of other candidates dropped out, some citing intimidation by authorities. Annan's campaign aides say he has now called off his bid for the presidency. The military has declined to comment on reports that Annan has been detained. Neo-Liberian president and former football star George Weah is making a crackdown on corruption his top priority. Weah made the proclamation during his inauguration at a packed sports stadium in Monrovia. Weah also said his administration will be transparent, representing the best interest of all Liberians.
We owe our citizens clarity on fundamental issues such as the land beneath their feet, freedom of speech, and how national resources and responsibility are going to be shaped.
Weah succeeded Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who was constitutionally barred from running again. Sirleaf was credited with shoring up peace, but criticized for failing to tackle graft or do much to lift Liberians out of poverty. Weah's swearing in is Liberia's first peaceful transition of power in over 70 years. Not too far from there, 2 generals serving under former Gambian strongman Yahya Jammeh have been arrested after they unexpectedly returned from exile over the weekend. Gambia's current president, Adama Barrow, was sworn in a year ago after a West African force intervened, forcing Jammeh, who had refused to accept defeat in elections, to flee to Equatorial Guinea. Umpa Mende, Jammeh's chief protection officer, and Ansuma Timber, a former head of State Guards Battalion, had both accompanied Jammeh into exile. The military says the 2 men are cooperating with authorities in their investigations. Now, Barrow is still seeking to assert control following the end of Jammeh's 22-year rule. The new government has replaced or dismissed a number of senior military officers, some of whom are suspected of being members of a group called the Junglers, which many Gambians say carried out killings on behalf of the government. Now, Barrow's allies have warned repeatedly that exiled officers could be working to undermine the new government from abroad. The internationally known legendary trumpeter, composer, and anti-apartheid activist Hugh Masekela has died at the age of 78 in South Africa. Masekela, who is known as the father of South African jazz, passed away on Tuesday in Johannesburg after a protracted battle with prostate cancer. During Masekela's 5-decade career, partly spent in exile, he scored a global #1 hit in 1968 with the breezy tune Grazing in the Grass. South African President Jacob Zuma praised Masekela in a statement on Tuesday, saying he kept the torch of freedom alive through his music and that his contribution to the struggle for liberation will never be forgotten. Now, for more on the legacy of Hugh Masekela, Tinyiko Moluleka is a political historian at the University of Pretoria, joins me via phone from South Africa. Good evening, Professor Moluleka.
Good evening. It's a pleasure speaking to you.
Yes, thank you. Now, just from your perspective as a professor of political history, how will Hugh Masekela be remembered?
I think Hugh Masekela will be remembered as a cultural icon, as a jazz musician, as a political activist, as a cultural activist.
Yes. Now, as a man who spent a lot of his time out of the country, how did his music, his activism impact South Africa or the movement within South Africa itself?
Well, you know, although Hugh Masekela left the country and lived outside of it for a long time, there is a sense in which he never quite left the country because his music was available all through the years, including during the difficult years when many people like him were banned and not allowed to come back to the country. So he has always been around through his music. And my sense is that he will continue to be around through his music even after his death, especially because his music was really the music of South Africa, the music of Africa. And people will always connect with it, just like they've always done through his music and his contribution to the arts, especially the performing arts, including in drama, such as the play Sarafina, where he wrote part of the music.
So you also see his role, a kind of a dual role that he played in promoting overseas the music of South Africa, but through that music also having kind of a stage to advance the movement of fighting for freedom in South Africa.
Well, much of his music was political, in inverted commas, because he sang songs of freedom. The themes of his music had to do with the struggle against apartheid, the need for Mandela to be freed, the cultural struggle of the people of Africa as a whole and not just South Africa, the stories of migration within Africa and beyond, the African diaspora. All these were themes that can be found in his music, and in that sense, he was a lot more than a musician, really, and he stood in many African countries, and not just in one. He was an African citizen, but perhaps even more importantly, a global citizen.
Do you think it's ironic that perhaps he became more effective, more prominent, because he became exiled than if he was at home?
I think he would have been as influential had he stayed at home, but certainly when he went to exile, it gave him the opportunity to brush shoulders with some of the jazz greats. If you read his biography, you will see that there are very few big-name jazz musicians and big-name musicians in the world with whom he has not brushed shoulders. He has lived in many different countries, spoke many different languages, and for him, the world was home. and music was language which he used to communicate across borders.
Within a historic context, where do you place him? We know South Africa had so many great activists who participated in the struggle in different forms. Where do you place Hugh Masekela?
Well, you know, I place him alongside the likes of Miriam Makeba, to whom he was married for some time. I place him alongside the likes of Jonas Gwangwa, who wrote the music for Cry Freedom, that film about Steve Biko. I place him alongside the likes of Manu Dibango of Cameroon, the likes of Mafumo from Thomas Mafumo from Zimbabwe. And in some ways, I would like to place him alongside Fela Kuti, with whom he worked briefly in Nigeria. He is at that kind of level, continentally speaking. And of course, in terms of international jazz, you can name any great jazz musician who was alive when he lived in the USA, and you worked with all of them.
Indeed, what a great man he was, what a loss to the world. Professor Maluleke, I want to thank you very much for your thoughts.
Thank you.
Now, Tinyika Maluleke is a political historian at the University of Pretoria in South Africa. Want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover? Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince Makori. Now coming up, some Ugandan cancer patients can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Stay with us.
This is a country that I chose to become a citizen. I didn't have to become a citizen. I chose to become a citizen.
I feel like America gave me an opportunity to pursue my passion as an artist.
I really believe that clean eating is a way to a more successful life, or a happier life, if you want to put it that way.
One of the things that helps me wake up every morning is doing better, being better.
We grew up poor, and so I'm always focused on helping the working class be able to have a more comfortable lifestyle.
I'm passionate about doing justice every day. I oftentimes say that justice is a verb, not a noun. You know, I believe in action and moving the ball forward.
Well, it's time now for our health report, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Mudu with the link between gardening and cancer. Lino.
That's right. It's a positive link, actually. Researchers say gardening may be a good activity for cancer survivors. The researchers in the United States conducted a pilot study with 42 cancer survivors, randomly assigning half to participate in a year-long gardening program and the other half to be put on a waiting list for the gardening program. All of the participants were aged 60 or older, lived in Alabama, and had been diagnosed with early and mid-stage cancers, including breast and prostate cancers. The researchers note in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics some positive results with those who practiced gardening, including lower marks of stress in the blood, increase in physical activity, an increase in fruits and vegetables in the diet, and also enhanced feelings of self-worth. Now, the United Nations Environmental Program and the World Health Organization recently agreed on a new wide-ranging collaboration to accelerate action to curb environmental health risks that cause an estimated 12.6 million deaths a year. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus and the head of the UN Environment Programme, Eric Solem, signed the agreement in Nairobi to step up joint actions to combat air pollution, climate change, and antimicrobial resistance. The agreement also aims to improve coordination on waste and chemicals management, water quality, and food and nutrition issues. In addition, the collaboration includes a joint management of the Breathe Life advocacy campaign to reduce air pollution for multiple climate, environmental, and health benefits. Despite the agreement being comprehensive, the two chiefs have agreed to focus on air pollution.
This is really a no-brainer. Pollution is the biggest killer of humans in this age, and we need to tackle it from the environment point of view and from the health point of view. And if we can come together, we are much, much stronger. Let's jointly set out the policies which the global cities, every city in the world, need to set out to move into electrical transportation, to move into bicycling, to make green lungs in the city, and to clamp down on the pollution so that everyone, every child, every adult, every old person can really breathe nicely in any city in the world.
The relationship will be at all levels, global, regional, and country level, but mostly we will make sure that whatever we do brings change at country level, especially in our cities, which are really being affected by pollution. We both of us agree that we don't want to see our children really suffering and unable to breathe.
The agreement represents the most significant formal agreement on joint action across the spectrum of environment and health issues in over 15 years. Now, Uganda's cancer patients can finally breathe a sigh of relief after the country got a new Cobalt-60 radiation treatment machine. But health officials say this may not be enough due to an ever-increasing number of cancer cases in the country. Halima Atumani reports from Kampala.
More cancer patients will now be able to receive radiation cancer treatment thanks to the installation of a new teletherapy machine. The old machine broke down in March 2016, leaving Uganda without that type of cancer therapy. Uganda and the International Atomic Energy Agency each contributed half of the over $812,000 cost of the machine. Dr. Rem Jackson, the director of the Uganda Cancer Institute, notes that every year for the last few years, there has been an increase in the number of new cancer cases. The Cancer Institute has registered more than 7,000 new cases, and the revisits are between 34,000 to 37,000 cases.
So that means we still have very high mortality, and this is contributed to mainly because our patients come late when their disease is advanced.
With a population of 40 million, Uganda would need 40 machines to meet the international standard of treatment for its people. Dr. Ruth Acheng, Uganda's Minister for Health, notes that there is still a lot that needs to be done to meet the treatment demand.
Currently, we are capable of treating about 80 patients per day. However, one machine is not adequate. Hence the need to fast-track the next phase of our response to the crisis, and that is the modernization and expansion of radiotherapy services.
The restoration of radiotherapy services and installation of the new Cobalt-60 radiation treatment machine came only after Uganda got clearance from the International Atomic Energy Agency. Yukiya Amano, the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, says in 2009 when he took office, the cancer situation in Africa was worrying, with 28 countries lacking cancer machines.
The IAEA has expertise in cancer equipment and training and safety. We are working with WHO in close cooperation to provide better service to countries.
The Cobalt-60 machine is expected to treat its first cancer patient by April. Halima Athmani for VOA News, Kampala.
And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter @LenorMoudou. Back to you, Vincent.
Well, Lenon, thank you very much. Now be sure to watch Lenon Mudu's health reports every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. And it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, a closer look at sustainable food trends of the future. We'll be right back.
In Liberia, in his inaugural address, President George Weah says he will crack down on corruption and make it his top priority. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, 60,000 refugees have fled their homes from CAR to the DRC since fighting erupted across the border in May. In Kenya, hundreds demonstrate at the country's largest public hospital to demand action on allegations of rape and sexual harassment of patients. In Libya, at least 50 people have been killed as engineers clear mines and traps in Benghazi, lacking detectors and working with basic tools. In South Africa, Hugh Masekela, the musician and anti-apartheid activist known as the father of South African jazz, has died at the age of 78.
How do you see the world?
I see countries in turmoil.
I see our planet changing.
I see people at peace.
No matter how you see the world, you'll get an unbiased and uncensored view of it on Voice of America. On television, radio, online, and mobile. In more than 40 languages all day, every day. Millions of people tune us in.
How do I see the world? On Voice of America.
The lyrics could be French,
English,
Portuguese,
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African Beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/AfricanBeat.
Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. Now, raising virtual cats is getting trendy among young Chinese people, especially among singles living alone in major Chinese cities. This phenomenon, also known as raising cloud cats, began with cat owners sharing photos and videos of their pets on social media. Official statistics of the White Paper on Pet Industry in China 2017 shows that the number of pet cats and dogs in China reached 87.46 million as of the end of 2017, and this figure is likely to increase by 40% in the next 3 years, which means in every 10 people, there would be one raising a dog or a cat. And in other high-tech news, Amazon employees have been testing it. But is the public ready for a cashierless store? More than a year after it introduced the concept of Amazon is opening its artificial intelligence-powered Amazon Go store in downtown Seattle on Monday. Now, the store on the bottom floor of the company's Seattle headquarters allows shoppers to scan their smartphone with the Amazon Go app at a standstill, pick out the items they want, and leave. By combining computer vision, machine learning, algorithms, and sensors, the online retail giant can tell what people have purchased and charges their Amazon account. If someone puts an item back, they aren't charged. Well, and finally, Germany's largest agriculture and food show, Green Week, has opened in Berlin. One product that could become common in the supermarkets of the future are these burger patties. They might look like any other patties on the market, but they are made from mealworms, the larval form of the beetles The show comes at a time of change for the food industry, with consumers demanding more variety, more sustainability and more locally sourced produce. This year, 70 agriculture ministers are expected to visit the show to promote agriculture in their countries, but also to see the latest technology in an industry that is changing with robots and automation. And that's what's trending today. Now, according to a global authority on endangered wildlife, nearly 1/3 of more than 85,000 animal species are in danger of extinction. Among them, African zebras and rhinos. Scientists and volunteer activists are increasingly using technology not only to keep them alive, but also to support procreation. VOA's George Putic reports.
The last living male northern white rhino in the world, named Sudan, enjoys 24-hour military protection in this wildlife conservancy camp in central Kenya. His weak hind legs prevent him from breeding naturally with one of the last 2 female white rhinos. Scientists would like to try artificial insemination, but the procedure is complex, dangerous and costly. To raise money, the Conservancy created an online app asking for donations. Elodie Sampere leads the fundraising campaign.
In terms of the money raised, we were aiming to raise about $1 million, and we raised about $85,000, which was a bit disappointing. We were really hoping to raise more money than that.
If they do, conservationists hope they will eventually raise 10 calves, creating a herd that can bring the species back from the edge of extinction. Another group in Kenya is trying to catalog all Grevy's zebras living in an area of about 200 square kilometers. Head of Research and Monitoring at Liwa Conservancy, David Kimiti, says the process starts with volunteer photographers taking photos of zebras, which are then fed into a computer.
It's a computational system that matches images from wildlife images for any wildlife that is striped, spotted or patterned in any other way, and it uses algorithms and grid-based image assessments to identify whether images are from the same animal.
The software creates an identity card for each animal and over time can show whether their number increases or decreases. It can also be used for cataloging other animals with unique patterns, such as giraffes that are also on the list of endangered species. George Putic, VOA News.
Well, and that's our show for today. Now, be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa, tune 0300 and 0600 UTC. That's Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching from all of us in Washington. Have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. When you slip, you fall down. But how does something slip from your mind?
Slip one's mind.
Let's listen to Anna and Jonathan.
Look at this beautiful cake I made for the dinner party.
Oh no, is that tonight?
Yes? Didn't you make something?
No, it totally slipped.